Well, hello forensic accountants. This is our guidance for Chapter 8 in which we are looking for abnormal duplications. Abnormal duplications associated potentially with fraud, and we have this case over here. Near duplications also associated with fraud, and abnormal duplications can also be associated with flat-out errors. It is also possible that our system is programmed so as to not allow duplicate payments, and so when we test for duplicate payments, we are trying to see whether the control is operating as intended. Let's go to our case. I like this case. Number 3 is quite challenging. We want the same test. We want an approximate duplicate test, and we want that subset number frequency test over there for number 5. Number 3 says delete amounts under 100. This one wants to delete amounts under 1,000, and this one wants to delete amounts under 1,000 as well. We are using this data set, and so some pruning is in order, and then we can start with a tidy data set. I don't need these fields. I can delete them. I keep that, that, and that. We delete everything to the right. And also, I want to delete all numbers less than 100 for number 1 and 3. I can do that by sort, largest to smallest, scrolling down to the first number that is less than 100, and then deleting everything. And I've done that. I saved the file. For part 1, I have the 3 fields that I need and everything under 100 deleted. I then made a copy of this and simply called it part 3. Part 2, I had to go scroll up and then delete everything less than 1,000, and so I get even fewer records over here. Now, Control Home. Now I want the same test, same vendor, same amount, same date. However, I can have more than duplicates. I can have 7 payments on the same date. I can have 27. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a counter, and I'm going to count how many I have in each group. But before I do that, this was sorted largest to smallest for the deletions. I need to go here and do another sort, home, sort and filter, custom sort. If I don't do the sort, my duplicates aren't going to be next to each other or on top of each other. Sort by vendor name, A to Z. Sort by amount. We can go largest to smallest. I just need them together. And we can add a lever, then sort by check date. Oldest to newest will work, and now we do OK. Now, if I have duplicates, this is not a duplicate, but if I did, they would be together. So let's start our counter rolling. Equals if, and I'm looking for duplicate 3 ways, so it's and. If this equals this, it won't on the first row, and this equals that, comma, and this equals that, then look up, and we're going to have a counter running. Give me D1, the cell above it, plus 1. Otherwise, start fresh at 1. Go. Here we go. I'm going to copy this down. I'm going to should get 1s on this page and no 2s because I don't have any duplicates here. But if I do have duplicates, it's going to start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I don't want all 7 because they're the same. So we are going to say, just tell me what the last row is for each subset, and then I'll print out the last row. So we're going to go again. Equals if. If this number is less than this number, it means I've started a new group And it also means this is the end of the old group. So give me a 1 year, otherwise just give me a 0. I suppose I could go blank. There we go. Sort. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the counter up here. It'll go 1 all the way up to however many I have. I care about only those cases where I have a number of 2 or higher here. And last is the last row over here. Now, these formulas are working properly. I don't have to scroll down and go looking for anything. But I do need to get rid of all the rows that I don't need so that I can get the rows that I do need. Since this is predicated on everything being sorted like this, I need to copy, paste values, and now we're good. So now what we can do is we can simply go and sort largest to smallest, and in fact these are the last ones over here, and in fact I didn't want it sorted this way only. We will go for another sort custom sort by largest to smallest, and then sort by count, largest to smallest, and then sort by amount, largest to smallest, and I should have all the ones that I care about at the top. This is telling me there were 7 payments to that vendor for that amount on that date. There were 6 payments to that vendor for that amount on that date. My results are only where amount equals 1. So what we can do is we can apply a filter and get rid of all those cases where the amount is equal to 0, and that's going to be somewhere down here. So these are the ones I don't need. I only need those cases where last equals 1, and we can do that, if you like, with a filter. We can do a filter for last equal 1, or I can just go down and delete everything that I don't need. But since I wanted the first 20 rows, there they are. Done. Number 2 said, look at the results and choose one duplicate payment amount that you would audit or that you would investigate further. So in this group, and so the only clue I'm going to give you in this is the larger the amount that is duplicated, the bigger our payback. So we want to focus on large amounts, but it also said ignore the banks, that we really wouldn't duplicate them, and ignore something that is to the state of Massachusetts or something like that. That is number 2. Number 3, quite tricky. We don't know about invoice numbers. We need to assume that if an invoice is paid twice, the second payment, the erroneous payment, will be made 30 days or less after the first correct payment. So a duplicate payment is now where we have the same vendor, the same amount, and 1 day to 30 days later, we have another payment to that same vendor for that same amount. So run the test looking for such duplicates, delete all amounts less than 1,000. So this is my data set over here. And now I need to start as usual. I'm going to not sort on an amount. I'm going to sort on home, sort, custom sort. I'm going to sort on vendor A to Z, and I'm going to sort on check date, oldest to newest. Here we go. So what I'm looking for are those cases where I have the same amount, the same vendor, and a payment made less than 30 days later. In fact, this is not the same candidate as 1 year later. But it's going to look like same dollar, and the gap is going to be 30 days or less. So let me start a new field. I'm going to call this field date gap. Here we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a calculation that says equals if the vendor is the same, that's the only time I care about it, then calculate this date minus, oops, it's C2 minus C1. Otherwise, just put a 0 there because I don't care. Let's see what it's going to do. Here we go. So it's seen that the vendors are the same, and it's calculated 266 days from here to here. It's calculated 210 days from here to here, and I wouldn't care about any of these, but I would care about this one 7 days later. So 7 days later, although those two amounts are not the same. So let me go and look for those duplicates, and we'll do that with a field here called second pay, meaning the second time that I pay the amount, and it is less than 31 days, same vendor, same amount. So let's set this up very carefully. Equal if, and this is quite serious, and okay, if the vendor is the same and the check amount is the same and the gap is less than 31, then put a 1 over here, otherwise put a 0. Let's go. Copy down, and let's go and have a look and see where we have a hit. I think we have a hit around about 530. No. So let me just pause. I'm back. I scroll down, found AM, PM, and here we have some ones. So let's have a look. Same vendor, same amount, and a payment only 7 days later. Same vendor, same amount, and a payment 21 days later. But this is the second time that I'm paying it. And over here, it starts getting complicated. Same vendor, same dollar, 7 days apart, but another payment less than 30 days, 7 days apart at 2 ones in a row. So we have to deal with that a little bit later. Now, I have the second pay. What I'm going to try and do in my report is also show the first payment date. So let's go up here. We'll do this first pay. Now, if the 1 is here, that's the second pay. This would be the first pay. So the first pay is equals if that number equals 1, then this is the first pay, so put a 1 here, otherwise put a 0. And we're going to copy this down, and we're going to have another look and look at that AM PM corporation. Let's just get there as fast as we can. Here we go. So remember this one, same vendor, 7 days apart. This was the second pay, and this is the first pay. Now we still have this little nonsense up here where we have a group of 3 that are all within 30 days of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another one, and I'm going to call this double dupe for double duplication. And it's going to be the simplest formula you've seen all day today. And double dupe is simply going to be equal that plus that. And so when you get one of these double duplications, it's going to put a 2 in this column over here. So what I care about are those cases where I have a 1 here, or a 2, or a 1. So all those nice formulas unfortunately have to go, and we're going to go here, copy, paste values, because everything is predicated on how this is sorted. I don't need the date gap anymore, so we'll just delete that. And now I care about these cases 1, a 2, or a 1. I'm now going to sort largest to smallest. And I have all my 2s, I have all my 1s, and I have quite a lot of them. And I now need to go and delete everything that is less than 1. We can use a filter if we like, or actually, let's do it much more professionally. We'll go up here again, and instead of deleting thousands upon thousands of rows, what I will do is I will just save what I want. Although what's going to happen is if I copy this to another sheet, it is going to be, all these column widths are going to be messy again. So indeed, here we go. I've got to scroll down to about 20,000 and delete all of that. And at this stage, I've got about 3,000 rows. At this stage, I've got about 4,000 rows. So if I do delete, I'm only going to have to do it a few times. Delete, delete, delete. Here we go. Back to the top, but I need to resort this. So I now need to sort this the way I had it. Home, sort and filter, custom sort, and I need to sort it by vendor name A to Z. And what was the other way that we sorted? We sorted on check date. Oldest to newest, and if I do that, we're good to go over here. So let's see what it looks like. I'm just going to pause. I'm back. The algorithm is operating as intended, and here we go. If we have a 1 year, these two numbers of 3,000, this is the second time I paid it, this is the first time I paid it, and they were less than 30 days apart. This one here is 4 payments of the same, so they are all less than 30 days apart, they're 0 days apart, and the reason that I have a bit of confusion over here is because this might have been sorted in a slightly different order when the calculations were done, but it's picked up, same vendor, and it's picked up enough of these 2s and 1s for me to say there's a whole lot of double paying going on over here. This is perfect. I get a 1, 2, 1, first payment, second payment, and then first payment, second payment. This year is both a second and a first payment. If I want something rather neat, I can go here. Here we go, 2,600. Less than 30 days apart, first payment, second payment. Again, the same thing, less than 30 days apart, same dollar, same vendor, first payment, last payment. So this is indeed the answer to number 2, and we're on a roll. Review your results, given limited order resources. Based on the payments, would you be inclined to review the controls that are there to prevent duplicate payments? And indeed, if we go down, we will see we go all the way to row 943. Some items like this, they're both a second payment and they're a first payment. So some rows are to do with more than 2 duplicates. So we have over 500 duplicates here, and the answer would be a resounding yes. I do want to check that the controls are working properly to avoid duplicate payments. Some of these look they look exactly what a duplicate payment would look like. And so I would want to know that the system is preventing that. Almost done. Run the subset number frequency test. The subsets are the vendors, and there we go. Let's see whether we still have this running up here. Data profile. Subset number duplication. Here is the number frequency factor, the number of records squared, and then the various counts all squared, and where the count is greater than 1. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to part 3, and once again I need to sort. If we don't sort, we really can't get this ball rolling. I need to sort by vendor, amount, and check date. I don't need. This has nothing to do with the check date, so we'll delete this over here. So again, home, sort, custom sort, sort by vendor, A to Z, then sort by amount. We can go smallest to largest is just fine. Now, what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to be following page 238 in the book. And so let's go there. Okay, so here we are on page 238, and what I'm going to start by doing is doing this n squared, the number of records in the subset, the number of records for the vendor, and I'm going to square it. So here we go. We go here. So let's go, and we will do count. And this is again an if. If the vendor is the same, then give me C1 plus 1, increase the counter by 1, otherwise start again at 1. We've done this a number of times. I'm going to go make this a little bit bold, center it over here. There we go. So we can see this vendor had exactly 2 records, and we go 1, 2, and then we start again. For imprint goes all the way up to 26, and then we start again. Now, I wanted that C squared, which is N and SQ for squared. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to say if the vendor changes, so equal if the vendor changes, if this vendor is different to that vendor. So if this vendor different is this over here. If that vendor is different to A2, then it's the end. So move over here and square it to the power 2. Otherwise, just put a 0 there. We'll do bold. We'll do center. We'll go here. And we're going to copy down. So this vendor's got 2 records, and 2 squared is 4. This vendor has got 26 records, and 26 records squared is 676. So for each vendor, I have that n squared. For those that have 1 record, 1 squared is 1. So now I'm over there, and the nice thing is the vendor name is A, the amount is B, which is exactly the way I've set it up on page 238. So here we go. All you need to do is to cruise across there, EFG, there are the formulas. That's EFG. The NNF can now be calculated in column H using the following one. That's just the heading, NFF. But here's the problem. This is a typo in the book. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. It says can now be calculated in column H. So really it needs to be H1 is the heading and H2 is there. So by just following the instructions over here, EFGH, EFGH, and be sure to do the sorts as you're told can now be calculated, changing the formulas to values, sorting by NFF descending. You should get a result, and it should be reasonably easy to follow. I wrote it so that it was reasonably easy to follow. And so that was challenging, especially because we didn't always have a very neat less than 30 days, first payment, second payment. Sometimes the second payment was the first payment for another short interval. And you saw that at the top we had 4 paid on the same day, which did give the arithmetic here a little bit of a problem. But we found lots of potential duplicates. And so, on that note, it's we're done, and so it is. Bye-bye.